Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it's a beautiful April the 16th, 2024. Welcome back to the Gru Orloff Inspirational Network, WWTD TV, brought to you in color from Rural Retreat, Virginia, and stereo. Looks like we've got four souls watching. Let's see what this vermin in the chat is saying here. Let's see. We have Ricky Swangles, who lives back where I used to live. Looking forward to a nice evening in the Hotel Orloff. I'll have a Rob Roy perfect, thanks. It's probably not going to be as long as most shows. In fact, I don't think we're even going to go an hour because I thought my wife was working tonight, but she isn't, so I'm going to do a short show. Thursday, we'll do a longer show. He says, Ricky, I found some real, i.e. the actual soft kind of milk-fed veal. So it's German potato salad and Wiener Schnitzel with fresh lemon to squeeze over it this evening. Hotel Orloff is the nicest YT hotel. What does YT mean? Hello, says I am one of us. And Kevin Johnson, the owner and proprietor of Mesa, Arizona's oldest comic book store. It's been there since 1849. Gotham City Comics. It's in operation right now. They're open right now. If you live in Mesa, go visit them. Says I'm in the hotel lobby waiting for my room key. Yes. And we got a link here to come on. I don't think you want to do that, but if you were so inclined. Oh, Ricky Swangles explains that YT means YouTube. I wouldn't have ever even realized that. Lieutenant Murray should visit. Lieutenant Colonel Murray should visit. He's in Mesa. Did I not say Mesa? What did I say? Mesa, Arizona. What did I say? Phoenix? I don't know what I said. Mesa. Mesa. It's Spanish for table. Flatland. Yes, indeed, I know this. Well, anyway, so incredible. So I do a little bit of organizing here in my newly decorated office. And what's going on here in the chat? Rudy from Texas says hi. Rudy. Is that Rudolph Valentino? Rudy. I'm losing my mind. I don't know who these names are. Oh, look at here. Look at, boy, don't you hate it when people, I did say look it. I make fun of people that say look it. I remember in third grade, kids said look it. And then this friend of my wife, about 5 years ago, emerged, and this guy said look it all the time, and it's very strange. But anyway, look it. I have a newspaper from Gotham City, about this massive disaster. This must be promoting some horrible comic. Gotham declared disaster area. What year is this from? I can't read it. I think it says 1988. Is that possible? Hold on. Or is it 1998? No wonder I don't know what this is. I just picked it up at the counter at a comic book store. Terrible. Guns up, Rudy. Ricky Swindle says, look at Linda. I don't even get the jokes, man. I'm too stupid. Okay, so I've got an AOK. Not an AOK, it's a birthday present from Jambo. I was going to unveil it, do an unboxing, except I already unboxed it yesterday, but now I will show you the contents of this. Jambo is one of the great, amazing people in the comic book neighborhood, because we don't use community. We don't use that filthy word community here on WWTD TV. WWTD means what would Tarzan do? And and look, what do we got here? Ricky Swingle says, it was a cute video of this little boy trying to convince his mom not to spank him. Her name was Linda. Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, that was funny, actually. Meyer Greenblatt says, hey, what's going on? And Ricky Swingle says, good evening, Meyer. Oh, guys, Dr. Fibes did his first like official. Well, he's has a bunch of videos on his channel. He did his first episode 1 today, where he's actually doing a show where he's on camera showing his front yard. You got to go to Dr. Fibes, the acquisitions of Dr. Fibes, and see that. Let's see. Omega Dread. I'm Rudy. Talked to Ken earlier today. Cool. Omega Dread, what part of Texas are you hailing from? And wife says, I remember that little boy. I loved him. Oh, that's my dog. Oh, no. I'm losing my Wi-Fi signal. Let me make sure. The Wi-Fi signal is horrendous tonight. Am I on the right Wi-Fi signal machine? Yes, it says I'm hooked up, man. Welcome, Dread. And yeah. Okay, so Jambo sends me this nice note. Just a few comics I hope you don't have already. I found an All-Star 58, but it's kind of beat. Maybe it'll be okay until you find your copy. There is a signature of Lisa Loring. Wednesday in the package also. Enjoy. Take care, my friend Jambo. So this is a birthday present I received, and this is wonderful. Thank you so much, Jambo. Wow. All-Star Comics 58, the first appearance of Power Girl. I bought it when I was in 5th grade. I've had it for years, a copy in great shape. I always talk about it on the show that at some point, right around the pandemic, it disappeared. And I can't think of anyone. Well, there were only a couple of people that were in our house. I don't want to think that one of them would take it. But All-Star is a comic that starts with A, and so it would be on a very top box. So if someone's looking, hey, what's in this box? That's going to be the first thing you're going to see in the first box is All-Star. And someone may think, hey, yeah, I know about Power Girl, you know, you know, the reason she's popular. And they would, yeah, I just don't know, man. I just don't know about these people. So could it still be here and I just can't find it? Maybe, but I've been through everything. I don't know, man. I can't find it. But anyway, now I've got a copy. I wish I could find my childhood copy. I may have to upgrade here at some point to get a copy that looks like my childhood copy, and that's going to be like 100, 150. But we need a lawnmower before we get that, and we've got a lot of. These are not good times in Joe Biden's America, but that's all right. Here's an incredible comic. There's not enough light in here. I'll make this better. This office will get better, I promise. It's The Lone Ranger. It's from 1954. It's issue 78. And I know that because it says it on the back. All right, so that's how the professional comic book exhibitors on YouTube, they it looks like they know everything, but they really have cheat sheets on the back. So this is a great thing. Let's open this up. We'll go through all the stuff, and then I have a few things to talk about, and then I'm gonna tell you guys to buzz off because I'm gonna hang out with my wife. Oh wow, look at this, great. Look at this, man. Alan Ladd is recommending Block City. Look at that. You could build a ranch house. This looks better than that Lego, that un-American Lego stuff. Actually, I have a Block City. Where is I have a Block City. I have one of these tubes, Block City. I bought it in the States, so wow. So it's the Lone Ranger, ladies and gentlemen. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. come back with us to those thrilling days of yesteryear when Santa Claus looked like that. Attention all children, moms and dads too. Get a subscription to Dell Comics. I'm going to read this comic this weekend. Well, we have a tornado watch here, but it's sunny outside, which is actually not a good thing because sometimes when the sun comes out and heats things up, then that's when the bad storms come. So, Jambo, thank you for this first birthday gift. Now, we got Lisa Loring's autograph, Wednesday Addams, the real Wednesday Addams, from the 1964 through 66 ABC television series. So now I just need to get a photograph of Lisa Loring to frame with this. How about that? This issue of the Frankenstein monster, which I've got a lot of them. I don't think I have this one. I'll check soon, but I don't think I have issue 11. I have all the early Mike Plug issues. I started getting those in second grade, and it was called The Monster of Frankenstein. But then they changed it to the Frankenstein Monster. So I'm a purist. I always alphabetize this comic under M for Monster of Frankenstein. You know, in this little illustration there, he really looks like the Universal Frankenstein, doesn't he? A little bit. To me, he does. He looks like the Morris Karloff Frankenstein. The way Marvel drew it, he kind of looks like Conan after a few years of meth abuse, possibly a little fentanyl. But Frankenstein, let's open it up, ladies and gentlemen. We always have the 25-cent comics from the Marvel, Marvel 25-cent comics. You guys all know from watching my channel or for just being a person that's alive. You all know there's something you always have to check when you see the 25-cent price tag. Because Marvel had these little stamps with different characters on them in the letter pages, and they say cut this out and put it in a special scrapbook. But when you cut it out, it sometimes part of the story's on the other side. Sometimes there's an ad on the other side, but still, that's caused a lot of damage to valuable comics caused by kids back in 1975, late 74, 75. Well, it's got an old 50s reprint in the back. You can immediately tell. I should have looked at this ad, this 1974 ad telling me I can fix almost any car. I should have gone into that for a living. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I have this one, but it's possible. I've slept since 1975. My gosh. Frankenstein's monster's getting shot. Incredible. Okay. At this point, the comic is being drawn by Bob Brown and inked by Coletta. But when those early issues with Mike Plug, wow, those were great. This may be before they started doing the value stamp. Oh, look at this giant illustration here. Yeah, I don't think I remember this. I don't think I have this issue. I may have just seen this cover. And what are people saying here? Omega Dread says he's in Corpus Christi. Yeah, that's right. You told me that before. I remember that now. Graphic Man, was it me? Not a fan of Wonder Woman or Power Girl. Oh no, that was missing back when I was still in Texas. I'm not implying Graphic Man who's visited here was the guy. No, he didn't like those sissy girl comics, man. You know. Oh my gosh. You can get some rock t-shirts and you can hypnotize people. All kinds of things you can learn to do. Oh yeah. This may be before the value stamp. So anyway, this is intact. There's nothing missing from this. Jambo wouldn't send me no defective comics. Every time I hear that name, Jambo, it makes me nostalgic for Texas because there was a, well, I got to tell this story. There was a place called the Arlington Steakhouse on Highway 80, which was called Division in Arlington, Texas, right? And it's an old stucco building right by the railroad track. Well, that place has an upstairs where they used to do gambling back in the Depression days, and it was always a restaurant on the bottom. But anyway, it was a restaurant there for years, but these people bought it, and they were called Jambo Barbecue, and that was some great barbecue, and I was going there all the time. And I'd be coming and picking it up for my wife and rushing home to get on the Four Color Fossils show in time. And I'd get the Jambo barbecue, then I'd get on Four Color Fossils, and there was Jambo. And it's like, man, it's like the synchronicity, the coincidence of it all. But anyway, those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. We thought they'd last forever and a day. We live a life we choose. We fight and live. Oh man, this is the All-Star Comics 58. Look at that. He's got like, what? You got like 5 backing boards behind it because it's such a valuable comic. I better take this tape off. It's in there. Yeah. Man, that's a lot of backing boards, man. I think there's 5 backing boards. How many is that? It's tight squeeze, ladies and gentlemen, trying to get this out of the bag, man. What time is it, man? 5:46, man. I should go after it. No one's coming on tonight. Clearly, no one's coming on. Everyone. Yeah, this one's a little bit. Mine was in better shape than this, but it's a perfectly good reading copy until I can get. Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much, Jambo. Yeah, this kid that owned this loved this comic. This was owned by a real a real a real kid that treated comics the way. This is a well-loved copy. What would CGC say? They would have but you know, maybe it could be flattened by one of those flattening people. What do you call it? You can never pressing. Yeah. Yes, Power Girl. Oh, man, I love this comic. Why don't I have this comic anymore? I'm gonna have it. Just pisses me off. Why would a comic just disappear, man? It's just, and I grumble about it, and people have gone through hurricanes and floods and fires and lost everything, and I'm just being a baby, you know. But still, it was something I bought. You know, the great thing about this is it's All-Star Comics 58, right? All-Star Comics 57, well, was published in the late 1940s. And I think they moved to All-Star Western, but this pretends that didn't happen there in the early 50s. So it takes up with the numbering like it never said the way to do it. Now, every couple of months, there's a new Amazing Spider-Man #1. They just keep starting the numbering over and over again. Both Marvel and DC do that. And I just think that's ridiculous. I don't like that. Yeah, there's 3 thick backing boards. I think think I'm going to just go with one. Yeah. But, that's good for, sending it through the mail. I'm supposed to be getting some other presents, I'm thinking, that are sort of halfway secret. I know that my wife's ordered me a cake from somewhere. I mean, there's not many bakeries. There's like one bakery, but here at the local supermarket, she apparently ordered me a cake, and I think 2 or 3 people have they've kind of hinted around that they cleared some of the comics off my hold pile at Gotham City Comics in Mesa, Arizona. So I've got some stuff coming from. I was worried stuff would come today because it was raining torrentially outside. I was just thinking, what if I get some stuff? Then it all gets wet, but that didn't happen. Okay, what am I doing? All right. What are these people talking about here? Dr. Fibes. Hello, everyone. Glad to see you on live stream. Yeah, I'm going to be for a little bit. Thursday night, though, is going to be a big, epic thing. Hey, Dr. Phones, just sub to your channel. I think he means five, and he says, and then, I mean Fibes. It's not your fault. They have a horrible spell correct feature on this that messes you up. Cool evening, Dr. Gratu. They assume you're stupid and you don't know how to spell phones, so they correct it because they don't see Fibes in their AI dictionary, in their artificial Android brain. Thanks, Omega Dread says the acquisitions of Dr. Fibes. Yes, definitely. He put his first show up today. It's tremendous. You just see the front gate, the phone booth in his yard, the gargoyles, the wonderful lighting. I wish that Dr. Fibes, he's going to visit apparently on his way to see his son at some point, hopefully soon. But I wish he could get a couple of days off, like during a summer or something, and come and help me light this place because he's a master of lighting. It's just, if he could help me get the technical aspect of this place up, because man, he's great. You wouldn't believe his collection. He talks about my collection being amazing, but that's ridiculous. Okay, so I also was sent some Archie comics, and he's wondering, I hope you don't have any of these, and I'm positive I don't have any of these. This one is one of those, well, Archie kind of jumped on some bandwagons in the 60s. And okay, the 1960s, there were the 3 Bs. The Beatles, Bond, and Batman. Those were the 3 major fads. Actually, they weren't really fads, the crazes of the 60s. And from that, everything else branched off. The Beatles come, and the British invasion, and all the bands and the garage rock and everything, all stemmed from the Beatles. The James Bond movie starting in 62. From that, filters out everything from Man from Uncle to Flint to all of it. Matt Helm, and Batman, big superhero craze. So there were issues of Archie where Archie becomes a James Bond secret agent. And of course, Archie formed a band like the Beatles, and he became a superhero with his gang, forming a kind of Justice League. It's his first time in any comic book. Pureheart the powerful, super team, Captain Hero together. What evil can prevail against their invincible heroes, the United Three? Look at that. That's the kind of trouble. When you hear the news about the judge that says to Trump, if you go to your son's high school graduation, you will be thrown in prison. You imagine, he just got to look like that. A pure Nephilim. What is that name? Well, her last name is right. This is the original owner. Actually, This is autographed by the artist. The artist's name is, oh, I thought it said Supponi. I thought it said Supponi Wright, but now I'm realizing her name is Sunny Wright. Sunni. Are girls really named Sunny? Well, maybe. Sunny. Thank you for this comic book. This comic book you treated relatively okay because it still exists. Now the bright days are here and the dark days are gone because I have Sunny Wright's comic hero. Sunny, thank you. And Jambo, too. This is number 50 of Life with Archie. Look at that superheroes. Man, that's great. Fantastic. This looks a lot better outside of the bag. Usually the bags make the comics look better. This time it looks better, and it feels got a lot of gloss and everything. Record Riot. See the whole thing? I look at comics, and this will be increasingly not a comic book channel. As we expand our network coverage, we are about to go live all the time. Within a few days, I'm getting, we have a major benefactor that is said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of you every month. We're going to keep the Gru Army Inspirational Network going. Even if you're not home, we can leave the camera going and people can watch Drew the dog sleeping all day. Because if you pay $27, you get unlimited access. You can stream for hours and hours. And apparently there's some people on YouTube that do that. They go around on ships and go hang out at islands with rich people and talk with them and get into antics. And that's, anyway, we're probably not going to do that. But comic books are one slice of a pizza or a cake, whatever kind of stupid analogy you want to. And what they are, what all of this is, it's a, hold on. What you got? Oh no, what happened? I lost my internet. Comic books are one aspect to me of trying to get it good. I guess I need to be over here with the light. We'll figure this all out. This is all a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so anyway, comic books are, when you look at popular culture and the things that kids are into, and the baby boomers in the 60s, you know, and the kids of the 50s and the 40s and the 70s, what I've always been interested in, the things that really parents didn't approve of too much, the things that parents and teachers kind of wanted to confiscate, throw away, get rid of. That's what I've always been interested in. It's the Mad magazines, the horror movies, the magazines about horror movies, comic books, movie posters, records, rock and roll. But I listen to records from 1909, and it's just as wonderful to me as the music from 1966. And there's even music coming out today that I approve of. Not much, but when I find something, I'll share it with you. And I want to have a round table here of I was going to say of Confederates. I don't mean in the sense of the Civil War. What the word means is people that are like kindred spirits that can talk about this. Model kits, you know, Halloween memorabilia, Christmas decorations, all the stuff that makes life fun and exciting. That's the comic books are one slice of that, but to only just put comic book after comic book up and then not talk about what, see, this is a wonderful comic, but it's not really, someone of today, a kid of today would just say, well, that's stupid. But I look at it and say, this is splendid. This is divine. And the reason is this is part of the 1960s, which I worship. And it's unbelievably cool. But you have to understand how crazy kids were over the Batman TV series when this came out. The Batman TV series went on the air in January of '66. Let's see what the date is on this. Can't read it because I don't have my. That's the problem, man. This has a magnifying glass on it. What does that say? June of '66. So they acted quickly. By June of '66, the Batman movie based on the TV series was already being released to theaters in the summer of '66. The movie was just, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. The one you saw it all the time on TV. Actually, I got to see it in the theater. Not then, I was born in '65, but in a wonderful repertory theater. It was a double feature of Batman and the monkey's head. So, yeah, look at this wonderful Bullwinkle ad for Cheerios. See, this is all part of the same culture. It's all part of the same thing. And some people have wonderful comic collections, but they don't really get the music, or they don't get that. I just like it when everything. And I love all the stuff that kids were into. It's like, what were kids into in the '40s? What were kids into in the '30s? And I have amassed this knowledge, so. And the things that are forgotten, arcane things like the fascination with Edgar Rice Burroughs in the early part of the 20th century. And it's like, why was this popular then? And I was going to talk a little bit here in a second about the explosion of popularity of the band Kiss. And when I was in elementary school and junior high, Kiss became huge. And it's going to show you a little bit of, if I can find it in this box, will remind me. Okay, we got people here in the chat. What are people saying? What are people saying? Oh, yes, I guess I'm here. Van Wolf Munstein says, good evening, Dr. Ratu. And thanks, Omega Dread. And acquisition of Dr. Fibes, I would love to. When we go to see my son, we'll have to stop by and visit. Lead Paint says, hello, gentlemen. Let's see what he's saying here. They wouldn't think the material is stupid, just the fact reading a paper pamphlet is stupid. I have teenage girls. Yeah, the paper is looked down upon. I know that. My daughters read all kinds of fiction on the web. Yeah, that's the thing kids love. But as you get older, it gets harder and harder to look at this screen, man. It takes, but they have young eyes, maybe they'll evolve and the new generation will mutate and their eyes will become accustomed to this, man. It's got to be because computer screens or maybe it's just that I'm getting old and I just want to blame it on the computer. Okay, what do we got here? It's Josie and the Pussycats when it was just Josie. She's Josie, number 12. And it's all the girls that would become Josie and the Pussycats with at least two of them. I don't think, yeah. There was Josie and there was Melody, and then the African-American drummer, right? I don't know I can't remember what her name was, but she was added to the comic when it became a comic about a band. But this is just basically, as it originally started, it was basically like a female Archie. She's a red-haired girl and her adventures, you know. And so this is, again, I have a magnifying glass downstairs, but man, that's downstairs. 65. So Josie and the Pussycats, that came around in what, about 69, 70, the cartoon and everything. Swing into spring. I remember always loving these ads promoting all the different Archie specials and Archie comics. Look, a teen career opportunity. You can become a dietitian. Man, thank you so much, Jambo. This is a wonderful birthday present. This is one of the greatest things in the world to me. A monster-sized monster. Just being able to open a comic and see an ad like that gives me such pleasure. It's really hard to explain. Oh, I've been told that the name is Valerie. I'm sorry. I used to know that. I used to know it, but you know how it is. Senility. It's so odd how high up that closet is. Yeah, it is weird. I'm stuffing books in this closet. That's why it's open. I'm putting giant stacks. The closet is it's like the Winchester house. The closet's about 3 feet up. And there's a step there, one step, but then I'll show you when I clear all those books out. I'm intended to come home and start cleaning and have it all look really great. But I had to eat, and then I had to show my wife the new episode, the first episode of Dr. Fibes, you know, and everything. So I didn't get to do all the final steps to make this look a little bit better, but it'll be better by Thursday. Why am I apologizing to you morons? I'm sorry. But yes, the door to the closet is up high, and I'm going to stuff it full of books. And then at some point, I'll get some bookshelves from Facebook Marketplace or something, and then I will be able to put the books on bookshelves. Then I'll put something else in this closet that's high up. Who knows what? Okay, and last but not least, the pièce de résistance is Sabrina the Teenage Witch number 16. Look at that, man. TV's newest star, and they're not referring to the Netflix series or whatever the streaming service they had the show where she's, you know, worshiping the goddess and worshiping Satan. It was that was a messed up show. It's the cartoon that was on in what 71, 72. Yeah, buddy. You'll see her twitch her ear and watch her disappear. She's Sabrina. So you think you know you're pro basketball? This is a giant-sized issue. It should be Nephilim size. Oh yes, look at that! How wonderful that is! Look at how wonderful that is! Glorious! Look at this! Hallelujah, ladies and gentlemen! It's all the Christmas specials coming from the Archie comic book company. Yeah. So that's the birthday present from Jambo. I'm going to do what do you call it? A Christmas stream on Saturday. And by then, I'll be able to show whatever other stuff I get for my birthday, and you all eat a piece of cake in front of you. All that. Okay. All right. So that's that. Okay, I've got to put some CDs back here, and then I'll talk to you about the band Kiss. Here's the soundtrack to Planet of the Apes by Jerry Goldsmith on CD. Here's Best of Dick Dale and the Deltones. Soundtrack to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These are some of the first CDs that even came out when the CD format was invented. This is on Delphi Records. Delphi was the same record label that signed Ritchie Valens and don't get me lying. Delphi was the Richie Valens label. But anyway, this is a bunch of really cool music done by modern musicians, but it's produced by Bob Keane, who's the guy that produced the Richie Valens records. He still owned the Delphi company called Shots in the Dark. That's Rose McGowan. She's on the back cover too. And this has a tremendous version of the Peter Gunn theme by Poison Ivy of the Cramps. So that was, was a Cramps completist. So I got this, but all the music's great on it. And a old friend of mine that moved to Hollywood for 20 years, worked in Hollywood film industry, came back despising it, but he said she was one of the good ones. She was a genuine good person, and she's even talked to my wife on, what do you call it, Twitter or something. So she's okay. She's all right. Okay, this is a bootleg. The Beatles live from the Sam Houston Coliseum, August 19th, 1965. Afternoon and evening concerts recorded in Houston. Just burned on a DVD-R and sold to me by a guy that used to run a really cool record store in Dallas. Beatles, Something to Hide. What is on this one? Bunch of different versions of We Can Work It Out. But it's studio sessions. So that's probably what this is too. Okay, this is the Beach Boys in the studio, and there's like 10 different versions of Fun, Fun, Fun. They're and Thinking About You, Baby, about 10. It's just them in the studio doing take after take. And so I forgot I had this. This sounds like something I need to put in and listen to. The Alternate Surfer Girl album, another bootleg. This one says nothing. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, these pop over here. Boy, that wind is really fierce out there. This is great girl band from the 80s, the Pandoras. But you listen to it, it sounds like it's 1966. Great stuff. The what is that? It's another. They started as a 60s band, and then they got kind of glammed, heavy metaled out. And then they were getting lawsuits because they played as loud. Their ears were bleeding. Eardrums were probably bursting because, the loudest bands, were they always say The Who and Blue Cheer. And they were starting to get into that territory, but they were good. This is one of my favorite books as a kid, and this is different celebrities reading it. Paul Newman, Kathleen Turner, Sidney Poitier, Matthew Broderick. Well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. I was the one guy that just couldn't stand Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It just didn't seem real. Didn't reek of reality to me. Here's Friday at the Hideout. It's Boss Detroit Garage, 1964 to 67. So, Dr. Fibes may have put out fires in some of these clubs where these teenagers performed back in the 60s. Dr. Fibes was a fireman there. No, were you a fireman in Flint? Same difference. Sorry. But anyway, it's Detroit, so it's what is this exactly? Oh, it's one of my many CDs that has different monster records on it. So it has all these different songs. See, that's another thing. You got to understand how into monsters I am, and you got to fully understand why kids became so obsessed with monsters from 1957 all the way through the 70s when I was a kid. And it was all because television was a new medium, and Universal released or a good majority of their horror movies as a syndicated package called Shock Theater. And like in just about every major market, one of your local stations, independent stations or whatever, on Saturday night would show a Universal horror movie, part of Shock Theater, and they'd hire some local person, or they'd get the weatherman and put fangs in them, and they'd become a horror host. And some of the horror hosts became huge nationwide. Zachary, and the Ghoul, and the Svengoolie is several generations down from the. Trying to remember how there was Ghoulardi, and then I think he was followed by the Ghoul, and then there was son of the Ghoul, and then I think after a while the son of Ghoul just became that. Well, there was Ghoulardi, and I don't remember, but anyway, what was Svengoolie? I don't know, but anyway, it's one of those things where I don't really know the chronology of all that, but honestly, but because those movies were so popular, then Famous Monsters of Filmland, and then new horror movies in theaters, and then for a long you had Frankenstein Jr. on Saturday morning. Everything was Frankenstein. So it was really, before the Beatles came to the U.S., Frankenstein was just about as popular as the Beatles would become. All these songs, the only thing that's really remembered today about that explosion of monster records is the Monster Mash, but that was not an isolated song. There were tons of them. Oh, this is the Pandora's Later kind of became this kind of image of glam heavy metal. So let me put that with my other Pandora. Here's the soundtrack to the Avengers, not the Marvel movie, but the British Avengers. What is this? Here's the soundtrack to Get Smart. Now, back in Dallas, they used to have these. There was an artist named Patricia Rodriguez, and she had this idea to recreate 1960s dance clubs with go-go girls and 60s type bands, and recreate the whole ambiance in light shows. And so every couple of months, she would rent out for the night one of the local clubs or some warehouse that wasn't being used, and they'd make it look like you just walked into a real psychedelic nightclub in 1966-67, with the real music being played by DJs, and bands would get up in that style that looked like those bands, and then there'd be go-go girls, and she was one of them. And if you got there early enough, one of the DJs made CDs special for each show with collections of amazing music. The only way you could get these CDs is to be there at that night of that party. And they probably only printed a few hundred of them. But like one night they had a James Bond night. And it was, anyway, the name of the event was the Lollipop Shop. And so, but there was no venue called the Lollipop Shop. It was at a different location each time. So you go in and you get your free CD. And so the one that was the James Bond night was called From Lollipop with Love. When When Thunderball was coming out in 1965, they made giant door posters of the girls that are in Thunderball, life size, that they put on the doors in the movie theaters. And so this is what you'd see in the movie theaters, these giant James Bond girls. But there's 2 discs in it, and so he's got, this could never have been sold because it would violate every copyright rule, but he gave it away to people. So it's like side 2, side 1. Okay, this is disc 2. It's the theme on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is the greatest ever, John Barry. And you get to see what he's got here. I'll let you see this. You can look up all these songs on YouTube and recreate this CD. I mean, all these songs, I'm sure, are on YouTube, and you can just record them right off YouTube. Whatever. Or you could spend the next 40, 50 years. Anyway, this is another one of those Lollipop Shop discs. And this is what's on the. So they were all made to look pretty professional, but they're just, home-burned discs with, magic marker writing on them. Hope they still play. I mean, I'm just going to assume they do. These were records that came out that were called Born Bad, Songs the Cramps Taught Us. Because the Cramps, one of their records was called Songs the Lord Taught Us. But most of the Cramps records, at least the early ones, were covers of old 50s rockabilly songs or garage rock that were forgotten. There was stuff that Lex and Ivy dug up that people didn't remember. Or they'd take an old surf instrumental and add words to it. Or they'd take 2 songs and kind of mesh them together and create their punk sound. So it looks like these Born Bad records, when they put them on CD, they took the Cramps reference off. Because now it just says Born Bad. It doesn't say, it used to say if you get the vinyl, the LP version, I hate even using that word vinyl anymore. All these kids call them vinyls. But anyway, it said Songs the Cramps Taught Us. But these are all amazing records. You got to look these up on YouTube. Love Me by the Phantom. And you've heard, of course, Hanky Panky Time. These are all songs that the Cramps did live or on record. There's a bunch of volumes. This is volume 1, volume 2. I have them on record too, because I'm a completist. There's the theme song to Faster Pussycat Kill Kill by the Boss Weeds. That's a great one. All these songs are great. Rockin' Bones there, track number 9, Ronnie Dawson, the Blonde Bomber. He was, I actually met him. He would come to my friend's house and play just with his guitar and just play music in his living room. I'm trying to get my friend to come on this show. Those of you into wrestling, which is probably the song "The Crusher" by the Novas is about an old wrestler called The Crusher. And there's some footage of The Crusher on YouTube. He was pretty funny. I judge wrestlers by how funny they are, because to me it's a very amusing art form. All right. So those are put up. Okay, so what I was wanting to look at was something. Do I have the... Okay, Warren magazines. Let me see. I was reminded of this morning, and I don't remember what reminded me of this. How long have I been on? Yeah, I said I wouldn't go more than an hour, but let's see. Okay, lead paint salary. My wife says that room looks cool. All of your rooms look great, says Dr. Fibes. Yeah, they get your benefit from your lighting. I used to love bootlegs before the internet. I also used to like VHS. next to our wealthy benefactor. Let's see. Okay. Okay, we're getting warmer here. Yeah, I think this might be the one. Okay, so Vampirella. Well, we're in magazines. There was a comic book critic named Branticelli. See, this is an issue of Vampirella, right? When Vampirella was good, not the Vampirella that comes out today is ridiculous. L to the Gratu. Thank you, Ricky Swangles. Anyway, this is late 70s here. This is about 1978, I believe. Okay. Okay. This is issue 65 from December of 77, right? So, oh, I love the smell of this little comic. Oh my gosh. They're draining these people of blood. And Vampirella's so, what is this? Missing Mars is here. Good evening, Groucho and fellow lunatics. Okay, so Forrest J. Ackerman comes up with the name Vampirella, because he just took it from Barbarella, right? And then Trina Robbins designed Vampirella's costume and the look of the character. And from her sketch, Frank Frazetta painted that cover for issue 1, where she's in front of the moon and her face looks very Betty Page, and her back looks very Betty Page-like, the initial painted version. Now, Trina Robbins had known Forrest J. Ackerman since the late 50s, when Forrest J. Ackerman was trying to say, hey, she was 19. He says, I'll be your agent and I'll make you the next Marilyn Monroe, the next Bridget Bardot. It was a little creepy. And you can be in these, these magazines, the kind men like, and like Marilyn Monroe started, and he was going to be her agent, like he'd been the agent for a bunch of science fiction writers. And so that's how she knew him, and they'd been friends for years. Anyway, and in the meantime, between 59 and 69, those 10 years when Vampirella was created, she turned into this major hippie cartoonist that was well known in Laurel Canyon and in New York. I mean, Joni Mitchell wrote a song, "The Ladies of the Canyon," and if you listen to that, the first part, she's singing about 30-year-old women. In the first part, she's singing about Trina Robbins and how she always has her sketchbook and how she dresses and all that. Anyway, so she's kind of the real creator of Vampirella. But then there was this guy, Jose Gonzalez, better known as Pepe Gonzalez to his friends, who is this artist in Spain, and he's really the guy, the Vampirella. He's the guy that really is the way we see Vampirella now. It's his vision, and he was an outstanding artist. Anyway, I came here to talk about Kiss, and I'll explain. This is 1977, right? Now, everyone's starting to be into Kiss at my school. And I didn't know what Kiss was. I remember seeing all these Kiss bumper stickers when I lived in San Antonio from 73 to 75, but that was the name of a radio station named Kiss FM, and it had nothing to do with the band. But whenever I heard people talk about Kiss, I associated it with that radio station that used to be in San Antonio. By the way, I talked to Mike, the crypt keeper of Castle Hills, on the phone last night. He's doing great. He's telling me all the horror movies he's been buying. He's buying all these movies from the 80s. So he's doing well and is in good spirits. He got kicked off YouTube, for those of you that. Okay, so anyway, I never shut up, do I? What was my point? These people start talking about Kiss, and I never heard the band Kiss. They didn't play it on the Kiss. I guess they got played on the radio, but not the stations I ever heard. The stations when I was in, my older brothers were driving around playing their 8-tracks. So I didn't hear Kiss. So I didn't know what they really sounded like. And I kind of looked at the people that were into Kiss, and most of them were a-holes. There weren't really people that I liked, tended to not be the type that were talking about Kiss all the time. I guess because it was popular. I don't know what I just kind of wanted to hate them. So here comes Joe Branticelli, that does this monthly column in the Warren magazines. It was in Vampirella, but I think it was in Creepy Eerie. It wasn't in Famous Monsters. The comic magazines that Warren put out. He did this column of comic criticism, and he also did a magazine called Inside Comics, and a few years earlier that only lasted about 4 issues, but it was really great too. Missing Mars says, "Good evening, Gratu and fellow lunatics." Meyer Greenblatt says, "It's good to hear that Mike is doing well." Yes, he very much is. Crypt Keeper of Castle should be on Graphic Man some Wednesday. He is. He can't come on shows late at night because he uses natural light from the big picture window in his penthouse apartment. And his computer is broken in half. I think he can just prop it up and kind of get it to work. I mean, he's got a laptop where the top has become separated from the bottom part. And he's just become, I think, happy as a clam, being completely isolated, like Robert Neville up there, ready. I think he's going to be maybe the only survivor when the zombie apocalypse happens. But anyway, so he publishes this anti-Kiss column, and I say, "Oh, Joe Branticelli says Kiss is crummy. Then I'm going to become a Kiss hater, even though I never heard their music." And I never even really gave them a chance until the early 90s, and I listened to Kiss, and I said, "Wow, they're great, man." And I started becoming a Kiss nut. And I knew this guy at the time that was obsessed with Kiss and Kamen Rider and all of Japanese culture. And when I met him, he had all these bootleg tapes that he traded with people in Japan. Sent them VHS tapes of American TV. They'd send him back Japanese shows with original Japanese commercials. And I'd say, "Let me borrow more of those. I got a copy of them." I became like a junkie. I want a Kamen Rider. This is the Japanese got these great superhero shows, and we had to sit through Nicholas Hammond's Spider-Man, and they have a Spider-Man show in Japan that's amazing. And he had Ultraman, and he had all these bootleg Kiss concerts. He's the guy I bought my Kiss pinball machine from. He was a big toy collector. Anyway, this is Joe Branticelli's column. I'll go ahead and read it. "A matter of dues. Before he took his leave, Richard Nixon spoke of taking responsibility. Bureaucrats contend it is a matter of accountability. Gamblers talk about making good on their markers, and businessmen are constantly keeping tabs on their chits. For the cliche addicts among us, the talk is paying the piper. But out in the streets where I grew up, out on the streets of any tough old neighborhood where a person is responsible for his own actions, people know you have to pay your dues. Paying your dues usually hurts, but you have to pay. Somehow, sometime, somewhere, everybody has to pay his dues. If you come from the streets, you know there are no free rides. Everybody pays. A lot of times these comic book people try to say, "Yeah, I'm a tough guy. I came from the streets." Remember Harlan Ellison may have really come. Harlan Ellison, wrote this book, Memos from Purgatory, where he wrote, I think, another book too, where he said that he had undercover joined a teenage gang and actually become a member of the gang, and then wrote this book, kind of like Hunter S. Thompson was hanging around with the Hells Angels and wrote the book Hells Angels after finally getting stomped almost to death by them. Because you never know when they'll turn on you. They may love you for a while, but anyway, he's talking about, the knife fights they had, the Harlan Ellison book, and I learned things from reading that Harlan Ellison book, that they, what a zip gun was, that these kids would make their own guns. They would be called zip guns, and they'd go out and have rumbles. And, the darker side of Fonzie and Danny Zucco from Greece, what they were really like. Anyway, so he sets himself up as the tough guy. I'm not criticizing Joe Branticelli. He might have really come from. Anyway, Stan Lee, the publisher of Marvel, will have to pay his dues somehow, somewhere, just like everyone else. He'll have to pay for a lot of things, of course, but mostly he's going to have to pay for Kiss, a new Marvel comic book based on the totally reprehensible and utterly useless band of real-life pseudo-musicians of the same name. Most of you probably haven't even seen the Kiss comic. The slimy speculators have surfaced again and snapped up most of the copies before they ever got to retail newsstands. See, that was the thing even back then. But you don't have to read Kiss to know what an unremittingly distasteful item it is. You don't have to hold a copy of Kiss in your hands to know that one day Stan Lee is going to have to pay heavy dues for trying to foist this corrupt tripe off on the children who buy his comic books. See, I was learning, and this probably came out, it's when I was in 7th grade. And I'm reading this, I'm learning how to write and getting some of my personality from these kind of angry writers. And so you listen to, you read this, and it's pure propaganda. It makes you want to hate Kiss. It's like, yeah, you say it. You said it, Joe. Even though I'd never heard their music, but this is how a lot of people are. They say, yeah, Trump's a bad guy. Have you ever listened to him speak? No, but Rachel Maddow said, just whatever. Anyway, so the speculators, that's why, when Howard the Duck came out and they said it would have low distribution. No, these speculators came and bought it from the distributors before it could ever wind up on the newsstand. That's why you couldn't find it when it came out. They did the same thing with Kirby's New Gods comics. That's why, and then DC would get the sales results. I'm sorry, Mr. Kirby, it looks like your book isn't selling. It's because all these speculators were buying up big piles of it before it ever got to the newsstand, just to hoard and sell through their comic book ads in the comics and everything. The tawdry legacy of the Kiss comic book existed even before it was published. It spawned from the group Kiss itself and the twisted values it claims to embrace. It grew on what Marvel and the 4 creeps who are Kiss did to promote the Kiss comic book. On May 26th, the Kiss musicians, if they can be called that without insulting every decent rock and roll artist in the world, journeyed to the Borden ink plant located in upstate New York. They brought with them an armored truck carrying vials of frozen blood extracted from their 4 glitter and jewel-clothed bodies during a concert on Long Island last February. Armed with their own frozen blood, Kiss went inside the Borden plant and poured the vials into a vat of red ink being used to print the first issue of the Kiss comic book. A notary public was on hand to dutifully verify the ghoulish deed. Certainly no one has ever accused Stan Lee and his Marvel minions of exercising an excess of good taste, but this stunt seemed a little bit much, even for the House of Ideas. Yet it isn't just a matter of taste that makes Kiss and the comic book adaptation of same so totally unwholesome. Kiss as an entity stands for everything that is wrong with society today. The comic book can only make these 4 ghouls larger than life and a repulsive and reprehensible model for comic reading children to emulate. Casting Kiss as some perverse sort of modern-day Justice Society of America flaunts everything good and wholesome and decent and upbeat the superhero concept has always stood for. Superheroes have always been the embodiment of man's greatest ideals. That's why we wean our children on them, even at the risk of making them too utopian and too idealistic for their own good. But Kiss is the embodiment of all that is cynical and callous and negative and oafish about mankind. No good could ever come from educating our children with Kiss as a comic book ideal. The group's 4 players, ostensibly musicians, make no apologies for the fact that they couldn't care less about entertaining people. They make no apologies for the fact that they are inferior musicians pawning themselves off as a band. Whether anyone really likes their music or not really isn't the issue with Kiss. One of their most pragmatic press agents recently remarked, they make no apologies for the fact that they are interested only in making money, gobs of it, barrels full of it, and will exploit anything they possibly can exploit to reach that end. One of the things they are most fond of exploiting wantonly is cheap, loveless sex, and a kiss stage show is crammed with all shades of debasing sexual references. They also exploit violent, senseless, mindless, indiscriminate violence that caused one Kiss fanatic to immolate himself in a misguided attempt to emulate a band member who simulates fire breathing. And you may be thinking he's talking about bad taste and violence and all that in this magazine, which exhibits all of those. But he has done. Before this, he had done columns criticizing Warren, and Warren allowed him to print his stuff, knocking the Warren magazine. So that's the first thing I think of is just like, well, aren't Warren magazines everything you're describing? Is this the model for the superheroes? It goes on and on for a couple of pages, and then in the next several issues, there's all this backlash. There's so many, because trust me, Kiss kids that are into Kiss definitely were buying this magazine too. I mean, it's the same kind of culture, so it pissed a lot of readers off. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to read the whole thing, it's issue 65. Tune into a live stream to watch someone read to you. You can find it, man. I'm sure someone's printed it online. But anyway, Vampirella, great magazine, and how about that? So yeah, for a few issues, that was the big thing. It's like I dared to blaspheme Kiss. Okay. So these are the next few issues, and then they started putting Barbara Lee, I think it's Barbara. I always pronounce it Barbara Leigh, Leigh, on the cover. Then they had to pay someone to paint the covers, but they were supposed to make a Vampirella movie. It never got made, and she was supposed to play Vampirella. It never happened, but that's one of those things. It was supposed to be a Hammer movie, but they had ads for it, but it just never panned out. But there is a Barbarella movie in production with someone named Sydney Sweeney. I've never seen a movie with her. I think she played in Madam Web, a movie I have no interest in seeing. The picture I saw of it, she's producing it. She looks like she could play Barbarella. I mean, looking at her, I would think. But, will it be a good movie? Who knows? Let's see what's going on here in the chat. Meyer Greenblatt says, my first branch of service was the Kiss Army. True dat, Meyer. I was naive. I was just wanting to hate everything that the other kids liked because I felt like I was the pariah of the playground, and I had never heard their music. So I kind of, it's like, yeah, I remember Casey Orr, heard that I didn't like Kiss. He didn't like that. He went on to be in Rigor Mortis, and he was also in Guar. But, now I see him at comic conventions like, Kenneth, he's in junior high, he didn't have such good feelings. Oh, but by high school, we were in the same commercial art class, and he saw that I was into Conan the Barbarian, and I was cool. He was into carving Motorhead, the logos on the desks, and putting Motorhead everywhere. And that was before anyone knew what Motorhead was. Casey Orr knew about Motorhead, and he put it everywhere. And I never saw Motorhead until they appeared on the Young Ones when that came over to the United States. And I thought, wow, Casey Orr was right. Motorhead is great. But at that time, the only time I'd ever heard the expression Motorhead was in the Blues Brothers when Dan Aykroyd called someone a Motorhead. And then I heard that Motorhead was what they called people from Detroit because they made cars there. So I don't know. I don't know the origin of that stuff. What are people saying here? Lead Paint says, this would have been a boon for Famous Monsters in the 70s. Missed opportunity. The Famous Monsters missed things spectacularly that are strange. Famous Monsters in that time period got all into Star Wars and just forgot about. And I love Star Wars at that time, but they really forgot about the classic monsters and just went all Star Wars all the time. And that's when it kind of started to sink. And then slasher movies became really popular, and Famous Monsters couldn't really move over into that, especially when Fangoria existed with the slick paper that showed you all the bloody stuff that they wouldn't allow in the R-rated cut. They had to cut it out, and you'd see the, oh man, it was. But what was weird was Star Trek was really, you would have thought the monsters in Star Trek would have been put into Famous Monsters when Star Trek was on TV in the 60s on NBC. And it's like Famous Monsters never even mentioned it. They talked about Outer Limits, Land of the Giants got a cover, Lost in Space. I don't really remember Lost in Space coverage in Famous Monsters, but I'm pretty sure they did. But Star Trek was completely ignored, and Star Trek really wasn't mentioned in Famous Monsters until 1979 when Star Trek the Motion Picture came out. But like Castle of Frankenstein, a Famous Monsters competitor, they had, I think, 2 Star Trek covers. That was another missed opportunity anyway, whatever. Kiss sucks, says Ricky Swangles, and I don't know if he's serious or not. I mean, yeah, I understand either opinion, but I grew to really like that Kiss stuff, and I just thought, man, I should have been more open-minded. But then how was I supposed to hear that music? There was no way for me to hear it in 1977, unless I had a next door the guy that lived across the street that was my age was really into Kiss. And I think he played the Kiss record, a song for me one time, but then he kind of moved on into his pot-headed soccer world, and I wasn't that interested in that. And he just became kind of this stoner that played soccer, and it's like, yeah, what is soccer? That's back then soccer was some exotic foreign thing. It's like, yeah, I didn't even like American sports. Eric Breen says Sydney Sweeney is a rare, not woke young actress. Yes, so she's most famous. I did hear about that. She was most famous for 2 distinct reasons. Her folks are Trump supporters also. Okay, so I will support her effort to make Barbarella, to build Barbarella back again, or whatever the expression is. Make Barbarella great again. Detroit Rock City was a fun movie. Yeah, I saw that. They did capture a lot of the look of the 70s. It seems like they had, but the best movie to capture the 70s was Dazed and Confused, right down to the wacky packages on lockers. That was American Graffiti would make a great double feature with Dazed and Confused. And there's even they're very similar movies. The way they're structured, all taking place in one night. There's even, and you watch, there's one particular vehicle that's seen in both movies. So it's very clear that that was like a wink to you that, hey, this is the whole movie is a salute to American Graffiti, but that was a love letter to the 50s and early 60s. And this is a love letter to 1976. Both great movies. But I think Detroit Rock City had a much better look to it. It seems like there was something I didn't like. Like there was either a character or 2 I didn't like, or it just wasn't funny. It struck me as very much, Detroit Rock City struck me very much like I Want to Hold Your Hand, the movie made, was that a Zemeckis movie? It was some movie that Spielberg had his fingers in. Because Spielberg is a great filmmaker, but when he tries to do comedy, it doesn't, like 1941. My wife says you're still the pariah of the playground. Yeah, I always will be. I've always been hated and despised. Let's see. Lemmy is God, says Ricky Swankles. Motorhead, Death Forever is my favorite track of theirs. Yeah. And oh, I was just about to say, and then my wife's beat me to it. Hawkwind, and she loves that. Silver Machine. Yeah, we need to be playing this music on my birthday. This remember Motorhead killed by death. Good track, Mars, says Ricky Swangles. What's Dr. I'm shocked you know Hawkwind. Why would I not know Hawkwind? Who doesn't know Hawkwind? Um, you should be shocked if I didn't know Hawkwind. Yeah, that's why comic books, man does not live by comic books alone. I gave you a taste of comic books, but the new approach to this network is I'm not talking about comic books all the time. A well-known owner of a real comic book store, Kevin Johnson of Gotham City Comics, tell me what he said. He told me if you just you just do a show about comic books, you should talk about Bigfoot, talk about UFOs, talk about anything, but just comic books, it's always going to keep, because no one cares. No, people don't care about comics. I mean, I care about the old comics. Okay, so I want to build an all-star army of people that see the world like we do. And there's some people, there's a guy that lives real near me, and he was going to come visit me. He sent me some stuff, some cool comics. He goes by Stanley J. Kirby. I want to get him on a live stream. There's a young lady that watches in England. Well, she could be my age, but it's nice to say young lady. I'd like to get her on because her comments are always spot on. You know, I was talking about David Wilcock. I got to go watch the David Wilcock live stream. She says, you should be watching David Icke, not David Wilcock. Every time she was always the biggest fan of Pete the Cat. I'd love to get her on, you know, but some people don't like to come on camera, like Ricky Swangles. He didn't come on camera. That's okay. Kevin of Gotham City Comics doesn't come on camera, but I want to get these people if maybe they could put a monster mask on or something. Remember Man Bear Pig used to come on, and he always wore a leather face mask whenever he would show himself. But I want to talk about other stuff than just comics, although comics are fine, but it's real old, man. I want to talk about, you know who else? I'd like to get the couple that runs the Dark Ride Dracula channel on here. I'd like to just have a panel of people that love monster movies. Maybe we get Todd E. Walnuts. Kevin was telling me, Kevin Johnson of the historic Gotham City Comics was telling me, you know, well, maybe we can get the people that put out Monster Bash to come on the show. I wanted to get, man, there's so many. I just, he knows some really great artists. The Free Comic Book Day is coming up, and that guy Smokin' Joe that does the Garbage Pail Kids and new wacky packages. If we could get him on, and the Four Color Fossils and everybody, you know, we could build an incredible army and network of, you know, we could do great things with the Gru Army. Since the Kiss Army is passed on, well, I mean, it's still in existence, but, you know, the band is supposedly, they'll be back, you know, they say, you know, they will be. They'll come back in wheelchairs, man, with IVs. I never believe. It's like our farewell tour. Remember how many farewell tours the Who had? It was, I think, their first farewell tour was like in 1981 or something. It's like, no, they keep coming back. What are people talking about in the chat, man? Ricky Swangles says Hawkwind was very big with the Rhodesians, Dr. Fibes. This is the I like the chat room because this is the kind of insane comments that I like. It's not just people saying hello to each other or um, talking about what kind of coffee they like. This is like a Auckland was very big with the rotations, Dr. Fibes. That's perfection of the way that the chat should be on a major color network like this. Let's see what my wife is saying. Orgone accumulator, another excellent comment. Graphic Man says, well then, hooray for Sydney Sweeney. I have a feeling Graphic Man's not going to be seeing that Barbarella movie, though. I just feel that. Let's see. They also love Fleetwood Mac, interestingly enough. Who's they? I'm losing track. Who's they? Who was they? I have to flip back to see who's they. Motorhead loved Fleetwood Mac? Who's they? I don't know. Sydney Sweeney is also a huge Gil Kane fan. Yeah, but I read in Entertainment Weekly that she hates Tony Tallarico. Hi, Graphic Man. My wife laughs when I say Tony Tallarico because she doesn't even know what that is, but she just thinks it's a funny name, you know. She just pictures this mafia guy. See, it's Tony Tallarico. Yeah, you better not mess with him. He can't draw, but he'll slit your throat. Graphic Man. Wait, what? I don't understand. Hi, Graphic Man. And then I don't understand the upside down smiling face. What does that mean? I don't get it. Well, I hope I said I don't think Graphic Man would see the Barbarella movie. I don't think was that. I hope I didn't sound wrong. I just meant that's not the type of movie that I picture Graphic Man watch. I hope that wasn't. He's not offended by it. I don't understand. That's why I can't understand the chat because sometimes I don't understand the emojis. These emojis that these city folk use. These highfalutin city folk. I don't get it, man. Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. High Camp. LOL. Laugh out loud. Pull the shaggin' wagon around, says Ricky Swangles. Vans with shag carpeting and oversized rear wheels. FTW. I don't like the camera either. Well, I want moving forward, as the socialists say, as the communists say, I want to have my wife be more part of the show, like almost every episode. But if she wants to be an off-screen voice, that's fine. It'll be just like, I don't know, there's probably some show where there's an off-screen voice. JP Patches had that. Maybe Captain Kangaroo, I don't really remember. It seems like there's shows where the host talks to a disembodied voice, but I'd like to, you know, it would be fun to show comics if there's someone that's intelligent but doesn't really know comics that well, I could show, okay, look, this is a Charlton comic. Look how the pages aren't cut the same way, and look how cheap the paper that this is. And then explain. And then there are a lot of people that don't know, but they don't want to ask. But then if you got someone that's a neophyte, you're explaining to them, then they're learning too. And I think that would be a great thing. That's a vision I have. But what are people talking about? Ricky Swangles, I have female stalkers. Texas vicious be cray. And Dr. Fibes says, I was nervous to go on camera and still am, but I'll have to get over it. No. You've got charisma. You'll be fine. You just gotta go back and watch my first show. I didn't even appear on camera. It's just me and Pete the Cat, and I'm showing drawings that I did in kindergarten. Go back. I've got a playlist, and you go all the way up and see. And then at a certain point, it was during the pandemic, I just said the heck with it. And I turned the camera around and I started showing books and talking. And I just cast all nerves to the wind. But yeah, at first putting a camera on yourself, it's weird. But I I'm more shy in person, and not real good with eye contact, kind of. But on video, it's like, what's the big deal? Yeah, it's you get used to it. But your first show was great, man. That's that's great. That lighting. I wish they'd light up the phone booth here like that, man. It looks so spectacular. What's going on here? All women facing menopause ought be cray cray. That'd be me, haha. So I'm homicidal. If you are friendly to them, but then don't do what they say, they stalk you. I've got two doing it to me right now, says Ricky Swangles. The Rhodesians is my wife. Yes. That reminds me of my friend Tom, who passed away back when I first met him in 1984 in college. He was always talking about a movie called The Wild Geese, and it was about a war in Rhodesia. And he says, I wanted to volunteer and join I don't know whether they were mercenaries in Rhodesia. I don't even know anything about that, but that friend of mine was nuts. My wife is laughing again. That's good. Micah was probably reacting to Sydney being a Go King fan. Oh, see, I get all sensitive. And I get all worried that people are being sensitive. I have no idea why that would happen. Because it's never happened here in the comic book community. Graphic Man, the and the upside down smiling face was for the Gil King comment. Oh, okay, all right. Paranoid. But we won't bring that up. They loved Fleetwood Mac, the Rumors, and Tusk albums. I still know who they are. They, them, and also Sixto Rodriguez. I don't think that's spelled right. Cold fact, they were wildly popular with them. Who the heck is them? I don't understand. The Rhodesians. I filmed my hands holding up vintage toys to the camera for a year. Yeah, it's no big deal. Look at all it's just all the brain damaged people on YouTube. You're a natural. You're gonna have 1,000 subscribers in 2 months. Graphic Man, I'm scared of the camera as well, probably because of those female stalkers. Yeah, love that movie as a kid. I don't know what movie you're talking about. I don't know anything, man. Who is they that likes the Fleetwood Mac, and what is that movie? Right. Oh, Wild Geese. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, Wild Geese. Roger Moore was in it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just half asleep. Just take some drinks and have some drinks, Dr. Fibes. Oh, I'll stop. Listen to you. Ricky Swangles. Rob Roy Perfect. I guess that's a drink. And then he says, cheers for now. Let me get a few more CDs to put in here, then I probably need to close this out. Is anyone going to be here Thursday? Does anyone want to come on Thursday? Because I think my wife will be busy on Thursday, so we could do something kind of like the Four Color Fossils, but where we talk about other, like, not just, we'll talk, if you want to talk about anything you want to talk about that's not illegal, records, movies, just anything. But I'd like to get new people in. My wife, the Rhodesians? Oh, the Rhodesians like Fleetwood Mac. Okay, I guess that's, now I understand everything. I don't know why that is, but why don't they like ABBA? I don't know. thing. This is soundtrack music from like Italian movies. Beat at Cinecittà. So I don't know. This is Francis E. Deck. You know about Francis E. Deck? There was a guy in Hempstead, New York, the same town where the Aurora model kits were made, where Aurora was based. Hempstead, New York. He was, I think, a veteran. He was schizophrenic. He was ostensibly insane, but maybe he really knew what was going on. He thought he was being tracked. He thought that implants had been put into his head. He was always talking about the worldwide Frankenstein communist conspiracy, and he would type these flyers and put them under people's windshield wipers, and people would save them because they were hilarious. And some radio DJ got a hold of a bunch of these flyers, and he had this great voice, and he'd read them in, when the studio wasn't being used, and these tapes started to spread. Audio cassettes spread all over. It was like the big fad in the late 80s, early 90s of Francis E. Deck. You can hear it all on YouTube. Well, so this is a bootleg disc that has all of his rants, but they're read by that DJ, and it's the secret to save the entire human race, demanding a rehearing. It's anyway. These friends of mine found him. They found him, and he was basically almost catatonic in a VA hospital. And they went into his room, kind of dressed as Men in Black, which was a horrible prank. But they just wanted to interview him, but he was not able to speak. And it really is. I really don't approve of this, but that's a picture they took of him in the hospital, which I wouldn't want to remember him that way. And so I really ought to turn this. I really ought to just turn this backwards, because I don't like seeing. I want to think of Francis E. Deck as a healthy young man. So I'm gonna turn this backwards. So I don't want to see a guy on his deathbed, man, because I'm a classy human being. So I'm turning it around. And now this is the cover, because I just don't approve of that shenanigans. But look up Francis E. Deck. Listen, it will be the highlight of your entire spring and summer, if you don't already know. This comes from Miriam Lena, who was the original drummer for the Cramps. She later formed Norton Records and rediscovered Hazel Adkins, put a bunch of records out with her and her husband, who passed away, unfortunately. They used to put out Kicks magazine. They did so much great stuff. They were in a band called the A-Bones. Anyway, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, the anniversary of the Kennedy assassination, they put out this CD, all records about the Kennedy assassination. So here's a great band that's of somewhat modern 80s, 90s, Los Straitjackets. They're like a surf band that all dress with Mexican wrestling masks. They're great. What is going on here? What's going on here, man? What are people? Well, there's a lot of people talking. The Great Legend says, Sir Gratu, how are you? Good evening, fossils. Madam Orloff, great seeing you, queen of the hotel in the chat. Also, lots of love for Graphic Man and all the fossils. Please like this video. Amen and hallelujah. The Great Legend show says, Eric Breen and Meyer, hallelujah. Great seeing you both as well. And my wife says, why don't they like ABBA? I don't know. I like the hashtag amen. Yeah, maybe I should type hashtag amen, hashtag hallelujah on my show, and I'll get a whole new audience. Good to see you too, Great Legend. Hallelujah for you, Greta. Yes. Oh man, you sound like my friend. He always says hallelujah. Yes, Meyer. Oh, it's Meyer. Hallelujah. Hey, Great Legend. Meyer Greenblatt. And Great Legend shows, I know Gratu told me about your friend in a previous video. Okay. I know Gratu told me about your friend in a previous video. I'm too slow. Like something's wrong with my brain. I don't understand that. Great Legend says, me and your friend would get along great. Are you talking about Francis E. Deck or Dr. Fibes? Hey, Noel, if you're watching, hallelujah. Yes, her friend Noel. He's always saying hallelujah. He's hilarious, man. He's this Cuban guy that just likes to say hallelujah all the time. It's funny as heck because that's just, I'm not saying it's funny, but he says the word hallelujah is not funny. It's just any word, if you repeat it enough, it's just like, but that in particular, it's just like, here's, I've lost my Wi-Fi. What's going on with me? Wild Angels, great music. Davy Allen and the Arrows. Look them up. You probably already know about. If you're watching this channel, you already know Davy Allen and the Arrows. Great Legend says it was the friend who says hallelujah. Oh, okay. Hey, Gratu and everyone in chat. Yes, thanks, Noel. Amen. we need to just turn our chat into just like a gospel. It's like so turn it into like a religious cult. Everyone's just hallelujah, praise God. No, don't do that. I'm going too far with my humor. Like the other day when I was comparing my discovery of wacky packages with the same or similar overwhelming peace and sense of wonderfulness is when I, first asked Jesus to, I accepted him as my Lord and personal Savior. I felt this feeling of bliss. And I said, it's the same feeling when I first saw wacky packages. And I said, I don't know if St. Peter's going to like that. Someday he's like, what you, never mind. Shelley Fabre, how about that? You don't like Shelley Fabre, then you're something's wrong with you. Here's another, here's a girl group no one remembers. Whenever a teenager cries, Reparata and the Dolrons. I probably would have changed my name if it was Reparata, and that's probably why no one remembers them anymore. But that song is great. Whenever a teenager cries, you got to listen to that. Okay, going back to when I was 4 or 5, the Ohio Express, yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm really into bubblegum music too. It's not a thing we could discuss, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we only have 16 viewers. Good, I chased them away. I chased away the comic book people. Good. What is people saying here, man? Just praise of all. Yeah, I'm trying to show Cleo all the Star Treks. I haven't shown her that one yet. So she's not going to get that joke. But I got to do that. Looks like my comment got censored. Man, yeah. What are you cursing? Yeah, don't curse or threaten violence because the AI bots, man, they're a bunch. This came with a magazine. I think it's a British magazine called Mojo, and you got this free instant garage music collection. It's a lot of it's stuff I already had, but it's pretty cool to get a free CD with a magazine. They don't do that anymore. Here's this band Gallon Drunk. This is actually from a 60s record. This girl in the snake suit that I think it's from like a South American record or something, but Gallon Drunk took it and just used it for their this is how they used to remember record cutouts. This is how they did a CD cutout. They just cut right through the plastic with the same thing they used on Maui. That was what they did with the same lasers. Just kidding. Look at this, man. My wife got this for me as a birthday present about 10 years ago. It's Golden Records, the records we used to listen to as a kid. But these are all Halloween related ones. See, I really like, my wife doesn't, but I really like this band Garbage. And now there's a new group called Sir Chloe. I think they sound a lot like this. And I really am a big fan. And Cleo likes it too. Sir Chloe, look them up. But this is I think they did a great James Bond theme, and I just like their music. Remember the Seeds? Yeah, this guy is saying, you know, God spelled backwards is dogs, so dogs are kind of like God, they're spirit of God. This guy was so stoned, 20, so stoned he never came, so high he never came down. It's wonderful. Not just wonderful that he got stoned, but just wonderful that he was such a crazy guy. What are people talking about here, man? Love bubblegum rock of the 60s, says Dr. Fibes. And my wife says, I tried to tell everyone that you have a gratitude for Pope page on Facebook. That was several popes ago when I was trying to become Pope. I also tried running for president a few times. It never worked out, man. So does Boyd Rice. Oh, yeah, he's into bubblegum music. Yeah, but he's also he's into a lot of other horrible things, but yeah, he loves Barbie and bubblegum rock and all this wholesome elements and the Keen Kids. And then his other personality, he's into some scary stuff. High focus. Okay, yeah, let's not talk about that in the chat, man. You're gonna get me raided, man. We're not supposed to know about those dew weapons. DEW. Mountain Dew. It'll tickle your innards. Mountain Dew. Yeah, we're not talking about the weapons of Brun Maui. We're talking about Mountain Dew. Yeah. Greta Orloff. They're okay. They're okay. Garbage is okay. Oh, Garbage is cool. And he's way into tiki. Well, so is my wife. What is the name of that tiki bartender that you discovered that interviewed? Oh, he's a really cool guy on YouTube, a tiki bartender, and he has all these cool guest stars on. He's had a Pinup Palmer we discovered her around Christmas time. She's a really cool character on YouTube, Pinup Palmer. And then after we discovered her, she became a regular on Svengoolie. She plays Gwen Gooley. Okay, it's 50 years of classic horror film music. This has the Omen theme, which is very good at scaring your neighbors. But it's got, these tracks, these hit songs. It's like a K-Tel record, all the stuff to get you evicted from your apartment if you play it at high volume. Oh, it's another Avengers, but it also has other TV show themes from shows you never heard of because you don't live in England. It's called Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour. Pause this video, go subscribe to that guy. But try subscribing to me. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so people can give me free money. They have these little, because I watch David Nino Rodriguez and he's doing his live show. It's like, oh, thank you. Someone gives him 20, then someone gives him 30. Man, if I could just do that, I wouldn't have to work. Check out the song Tiki Man by the Deadbolts. Very cool. Sure, I will. I don't know that band. But look, all these 1960s shows that we never got in our country, but all have these cool themes. This is a great one. This is going to be hard for you to find. It came out on Big Beat Records. I think they're out of France. You maybe can find it on eBay. The Wild Wild World of Mondo Movies. And it's got some of this is just recorded right off the soundtrack of the movie, but it's got music from Rat Fink a Boo Boo and Night of the Ghouls, Maniacs or Loose trailer, all the songs that play. Rat Fink a Boo Boo was supposed to be shoot, what's happening to my Wi-Fi? Raven Steckler's, I think they were making a straight action movie, And then the Batman TV series came out, and they decided, let's put Batman and Robin characters in it. And it's going to be Rat Fink, and his assistant's going to be Boo Boo instead of Robin. So you have this kind of real serious movie where this woman's being stalked, and it's like a film noir. And then all of a sudden, these goofy guys in costumes appear because it's two movies mixed into one. And it was supposed to be called Rat Fink and Boo Boo. And then they sent it off. The guy did the opening titles and put Rat Fink a Boo Boo, like a go-go. And they said, oh no, we can't afford to do the titles for the movie again. Let's just go with it and call it Rat Fink a Boo Boo, which makes no sense. But that's the story why that movie has such a crazy name. Dr. Fibes, check out the song. I already said that. Oh my gosh. This chat keeps popping up from my wife's work. Brought who hates psychobilly. No, I love rockabilly. I love the Cramps. To me, psychobilly is a bunch of British people trying to sound like the Cramps. And it all sounds the same. The Meteors, I don't know. I tried, I sampled it in the 80s. I thought, well, I love the Cramps. Maybe I'll love this too. And it just all sounded alike to me. And it's too far away from the source. The Cramps are Americans. Rockabilly is an American art form. Garage rock is so, but I don't want to hear British people doing straight rockabilly either, or people from France. It's just something people from the South should do, and the Cramps were a mixture of hillbilly music and 60s garage rock. So, their song Garbage Man, which is really like, if you look at the lyrics of the Cramps song Garbage Man, it explains everything this channel's about. Because, they're explaining, it's all there. One half hillbilly and one half punk. The hottest thing from the North to come out of the South. It's all there, a manifesto. Originally, psychobilly was a term that they were using for the Cramps, and then it somehow became for that whole genre. I don't know. I'm very particular about music. I have that movie on Blu-ray. It is that LOL. Yes. This is a British band, but I like this. The Piltdown Men. They dressed like cavemen and had music with a lot of drums. It's kind of sounded like a Bam Bam. Bam Bam Rubble grew up, and actually, I think he did have a band in the cartoon when he became a teenager. But this is what you would imagine Bam Bam Rubble, his band would sound like, the Piltdown Men. Here's a bunch of rockabilly music there's tons of these CDs with collections of rockabilly. This may just be rock and roll, not necessarily rockabilly. Teen Scene Volume 2. And they all come from other countries. Like this one is from Hamburg, Germany, and you see at the bottom. People over there, I don't make rockabilly, but I don't like it when they create their own, but they repackage our music and send it back to us. It's wonderful that they love our music enough that they appreciate it enough that they create collections of it and all that. This is a collection of prank calls that was put together by a friend that I understand is no longer with us. I found that out recently. And this was from him as well. He would call up talk radio channels and pretend to be this old lady. He could do a great old lady voice, and they were hilarious prank calls. And here's Earl Bostic, and I probably need to end this stream and go brush my teeth and go watch television because we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, and I told my wife I'd only be on for an hour. What is going on here? They came out with a Blu-ray box set of Ray Dennis Stickler, and of course I have it. I have a lot of schlock movies. Do you have the the Ron Orman, June and Ron Orman set. I've been wanting to get that, but it's expensive. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, gradually this office is becoming more dignified with every episode. Classy looking. Okay, does anyone have anything astoundingly astute to say? Probably not. Let's see. A whole bunch of stuff I printed out 20, 30 years ago, and I don't even know what we got here. Interesting. You ever seen this? There's a Wonder Woman board game, Justice League of America. Does anyone own this? That would be a beautiful. It's probably like $1,000 to buy this game, but I've never seen this in person. I printed it off the internet back when the internet was invented. You remember when Al Gore invented the internet? Oh man, here's some original pages. What magazine I used to put out? I didn't know where the original pages went, but sometimes I'll find original pages. Like here's an article on the Mummies. They're a great band. An article on Irish McCalla played Sheena. Here she is. She's all ready for battle in the jungle. You look in the back, and she's just in suburban Los Angeles with houses in the background. But if you don't notice that, it really looks like she's. I mean, she was perfect. She looks just like right the way they drew her on the covers of the Fiction House comics. Irish McCall was great. Here's here's our little take on the Rapture. Will be in 1988. Can I show this? This is from 1990, and it's some of my friends. This was the comic section in the magazine I used to do, and there's a Popeye comic. But look, my friend did a Donald Trump comic strip in 1990, but he has him as a vampire. Yeah, that guy hates Trump now. But and then I've got like a Muppet Babies parody here. That's something I drew. Enough of that. You don't need to see that. Yeah, I actually have some of the existing pages of the. Wow. I can't believe it. I've discovered these. Look at this fake. Remember the movie Guardian of Hell? We combined it with It Is Awakened, Elvis, Guardian of Hell. Ooh, there's some nudity there. Sorry. I better be careful what I show here. Yeah, can't show that. Never mind. Never mind. Oh, look at this. Misfits cover night. Some of these bands sort of. There's a good band. Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of a Haunted House. I mean, it's a good name for a band. Oh, this is what's the name of this artist? I remember I liked this artist. I think he lived in Austin. It's at the Galaxy Club. I remember the Galaxy Club. I need to make a special file of these band flyers. It's not. It's not an actual Misfits flyer. It's people doing Misfits versions of the Misfits. And I would say this is from back when you could get in a club for $4. So what would this be? 1980s. When was we've got Ricky Swagler. You remember the Galaxy Club? When was that? That was late 80s. It can't be more, it can't be later than early 90s. Okay, what's going on? Gotham City says the talk of the town is about shop in California that's been open for 21 years just closed. Oh boy. People are not doing well in the economy. How was your day today? Did you make a lot of sales, Kevin, at your comic store? And are there any big titles coming out? I think I already asked you this like 3 times, whether there's any big titles coming out this week. I think you probably said no, but he really recommends those Geiger, that Geiger universe, not HR Geiger or whatever, the Junkyard Joe universe. I'll find all kinds of things. This is an advertisement for when I made a CD of Batman covers, cover versions of the Batman 1966 theme. It says, wow, dozens of different versions of the 1966 Batman TV show theme on one compact disc for the first time. Although this is sheer bliss for cool people, squares will curl into a fetal position and attempt to poke holes in their eardrums with a sharpened number 2 pencil. And it says send $13 postpaid. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is before I had the capability of burning my own CDs, and I had a friend burning them. That's the friend that used to make those prank calls that passed away. So this is, when did CDRs, recordable CDs, first became a thing? And when did that happen? I don't. Several decades ago, let's just say that. Wow. This is a bunch of stuff I hold in from the garage. Wow. Well, why are you guys even here? I don't know how to entertain this. How old is this book, man? 1929. How Candide was obliged to separate from the fair Cunegonde and the old woman. I just know that Harvey Kurtzman based his character Goodman Beaver on this book. And then Goodman Beaver later morphed into Little Annie Fanny for Hugh Hefner. So this is the great-great-granddaddy of Little Annie Fanny, in a way, from a certain perspective. Remember that Lucas is trying to cover, it's like, well, what I told you was true from a different perspective. That's the words I lied to you, Luke. This is my high school, except I was a graduate. I was a graduate in 1983, not 57. But boy, I wish I was a graduate in 57 because it would have been a lot more fun. Except I'd probably not be alive now. But yeah, it looked a lot more fun back when it looked like you were in an Archie comic book and not that miserable school that I went to. Same building, but when people look like that instead of the scum and vermin that I went to school with. Oh, I'm just kidding. I had such fun in high school. It was just so great. Okay. Omega Dread says, Gotham, yeah, I heard about that. Sad. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting that news. All I'm hearing is about Donald Trump. But what news sources cover comic book stores closing? I'm probably not tuned into the right networks. Okay, I forget. I think I said I was gonna. I don't know why I wanted to start the show at 5 tonight. I still need to go upstairs and hang out with my wife, so I gotta close this out. But I think 7 o'clock is when I said I'll probably come on early. On what happened is I have 3 accounts on StreamYard, and they this one renewed on the 16th, which is today. So that's why today I have another 20 hours, I guess 18 now on this. But when this great benefactor is sending some funds so I can get unlimited StreamYard, I'll get that on the one that I have on my phone, so I'm more mobile, and we'll start this network in earnest. And the Gru Army will come one step closer to. Remember when this ripped out of a TV guide, when this was your adaptation of Captain America? Thank you, CBS. You did such a great adaptation. Boy, that's just the way I visualized him. But this guy now goes around to conventions and sign. I guess he's a nice guy. It's just a terrible movie. All right, well, and with that, I will bid you farewell, and I'm gonna ease on down the road. I'm going to go up the country. So we'll sign off our programming day here on WWTD TV in Rural Retreat, Virginia, Channel 47, broadcasting from the Hotel Orloff. Goodbye, Mr. Ball.